And we are live. I'm Jen Ramsey from Easthampton Media, and we've been doing these virtual town hall meetings with the mayor's office for the past 3 weeks during the COVID-19 pandemic. It's a chance to get residents together with different leaders in our community to have discussions on things going on during this time. So thank you all for joining. I'll watch the chat for questions. We'll have a little presentation first, and then at the end we'll open up for Q&A. We'll take them in the order that they come in, or if you'd like to speak, raise your hand and we'll acknowledge and you can ask questions. So I'll turn the reins over to the mayor.
Thank you, Jen, and thank you to you and the Easthampton Media crew for making this possible. Today we have brought back our health agent, Bree Eckenstat, and Bree, you're going to have to say your last name again so I don't mess it up. But as I just did, my apologies. To basically walk us through the new health orders that some were just extended and others have just gotten more detail as really we evolve in the middle of a pandemic. And I would just want to make sure that today folks hear Bree as much as possible, because there's a lot of things that have changed, and we get to questions and answers that period, and that can be around what Bree presented and also any other questions you have about your municipal government. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Bree.
Thanks, Mayor. So my name's Bree Eichstead. Pretty close. So we have 4 orders out right now, Board of Health orders. The Board of Health has the authority to put these orders in place, and the Board of Health has authority to be stricter than state government. So we've had some questions about getting exceptions to the non-essential requirement of the governor. We can't be less stringent than the state, but we can be more strict. So we have the all essential businesses open to the public order. So that's all of your convenience stores, grocery stores, hardware stores, anything that are deemed essential and that are open to the public. So you've probably seen some of these requirements already in place, the 6 feet of social distance markings in the grocery stores, the plexiglass. We do require employees to be wearing masks. That's different than our public face covering order, which we'll get to. So the employees have to wear masks. The grocery stores have to have one-way aisles. So there's a lot of different requirements. And I do want to say thank you to our essential businesses, because we have changed this order several times as COVID has progressed. So I appreciate all of their hard work in reading through my emails and incorporating these requirements. They've done a really good job. So that's our essential business one. That's our longest one. That's like 4 pages. So that's very detailed, and it gets into more specifics for grocery stores, pharmacies, and takeout, which you've also seen change from being takeout to curbside only. So that is also a requirement in Easthampton that's different to other towns. So that is a special requirement to Easthampton. Northampton has that in place too, and I'm not sure about others. But the other order is our closure of public and semi-public playgrounds, basketball courts, tennis courts. That was put into place a couple weeks ago. We were having issues with people congregating at the parks and playing in basketball courts and playgrounds. So semi-public also includes condominiums, apartment complexes. So we wanted to make sure that we encompassed all of those playgrounds, obviously besides residential and private. So that refers to those areas of close congregation. So that doesn't include, you can still walk on the bike path, you could still go to Nashwanek Pond and fish, and you could still go to open areas of parks and walk your dogs and such, as long as you're maintaining social distancing. That order is specific to those areas of close congregation, so playgrounds and sports courts like basketball courts and such. The most recent order is the face coverings order, which we are urging the public to wear face coverings. And it's really important to know that just because you have a face mask on doesn't mean that the social distancing goes out the window. So face coverings are used when you can't really socially distance. Like if you're in the grocery store, sometimes you can't help but be within 6 feet of another person, or if you go to the pharmacy, or if you go to a convenience store. So face coverings, you know, they don't need to be N95s. They don't need to be surgical masks. They really just need to be any type of cloth face covering. And if you don't have a nice homemade face mask, which you might see out in the public, you can also use bandanas, scarves, really anything to try to just protect those around you. And it's also important to know that these face coverings aren't necessarily meant to protect you. They do in a sense, but they're mostly meant to protect the people around you from your germs, basically. So if everyone wears a face covering, everyone would, you know, be at much less risk. So with that being said, we are taking donations, and we've gotten a ton, and it's we really appreciate them, because seriously, each mask goes to use. We do not have a surplus of them, so every single mask that we're getting donated, we are giving to a resident or to an employee in Easthampton. And if you need a mask, you can email me. Just email me your address and how many you need. We're asking that you only ask for one per person, because they can be laundered every night. So if you just email me with your address and where to drop them off, we are doing a drop off tomorrow. So if you could email me before tomorrow, I should have enough. We're getting a couple more donations, but if we don't get to everyone this Friday, we'll get to people very soon, because we are getting good donations. So,
Bree, what's the
Yep.
best email address to put those requests in for masks?
So I suggest people go to our website and get my email off of the website. I'll say it here, but I always hate spelling it over phones because it's very hard to understand. It's my first initial and last name, so it gets complicated. But if you don't understand over the email, you can go onto our website. It's posted there. But the email is B as in boy, EICHS, T as in Tom, A, E, D as in dog, T as in Tom, at easthamptonma.gov. I asked for it not to be my name when I first got hired, but they made me. So if you need, you can also get an email at health@easthamptonma.gov. We don't monitor that one as much, so I do like them to come directly to me, but that one's a little bit easier. So
thank you. I just want to bring up my own questions, because they're questions that we've gotten a lot of emails about. And one is the Mill District, Bree, and essential businesses like within Eastworks and Mill 180 and One Cottage Street. And I know I've pushed a couple of those individual questions to both you and the chair of the local Board of Health, Maggie Hebert, but maybe you could just generally review what's going on with buildings like that.
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think there was a little confusion at the beginning, because I think it got misconstrued. Some residents thought that the Board of Health closed down some of these buildings, and we did not. If there's, what it comes down to is whether or not you're essential versus non-essential. If you're essential, you can operate as if nothing's changed. So you can continue to go into Eastworks or One Cottage, wherever your essential business is located, and continue working as if nothing. They're asking that if you can work remotely, to work remotely, but if you can't, and you don't need to get permission from the local health department, you don't have to let me know. That's just, you know, business as usual. If you're non-essential, I've gotten some questions. If you're not open to the public and you don't have employees, or your employees are staying home, can you continue as the owner to report every day to your space if you're non-essential? And I got two different opinions. I got one from MEMA, which is Mass Emergency Management Agency, and I also got an opinion from the Department of Public Health. And they both said that if you're non-essential, you should not be reporting to your space, whether or not you're open to the public or whether or not you have employees. You can, however, go to do payroll once a week, or to check on things, or to get, if you get an order and you know you need to go get it, or if you have something perishable. But it should not be business as usual Monday through Friday if you're non-essential.
And how does that, so if folks are going into their working space and a part of their business is online. They're going in to get those orders out. How does that work?
Well, I read recently on the FAQ on mass.gov, if they're non-essential,
Yeah.
it's tough, and it might be a case-by-case basis for some, but
Okay.
if they're non-essential, they should be working remotely. So if they could get those orders sent to their home, they shouldn't be doing curbside if they're non-essential. So even if you have like a space on Cottage Street and you're non-essential, you can't do curbside. That is specifically spelled out on the FAQs. But if you're doing online orders, and you're non-essential, I still don't think they should be reporting to their spaces every day, based on the guidance I got from 2 state agencies.
So if they were to, and I'm kind of going through the list of questions, but there are folks who do work from home, but their stock is in the workspace. So they're going in and doing a once in a week or, every other day, not usual business, just to mail those orders out, and everything else is happening remotely in their home.
Yeah. So I think that would be fine, because what we've said from day one, and we've been very consistent, is if you need to go in, because I go into town hall once a week to check mail.
Yep.
So it's kind of similar to that. If you need to go in on Mondays and Thursdays to get inventory, that's fine. It just shouldn't be your normal Monday through Friday working as usual. So yeah.
Okay, great. And I would just add, if you're in a shared building or whatnot, please take precautions and remember what you touch. It's hard to remember all those common surfaces that you touch or somebody else. I'm thinking about buildings that have these types of businesses, but also have residential. So to think that businesses aren't operating and there's not a common touch chance of infection, I would strongly state, I would think you're incorrect in thinking that. But that's, a lot of those orders around these type health orders around these businesses have to do with that. You might not be worried about your space, but getting into your space, there are opportunities to pass on infection or to be infected.
And we're asking custodians to clean, if they can clean more and clean, more frequently, but also, like the mayor said, everyone kind of has to do their part too. So we can, hope that the custodians can add more hours, but if they can't, carry around wipes with you or a spray bottle, and if after you touch the surface, just spray it down. And so everyone's got to kind of do their part for sure.
Absolutely. Very good point, Bree. I have a couple of more things to let people know about, and I welcome Bree jumping in to one, correct me if I'm wrong, but two, if there's more context that can be added. So one, around local numbers and reporting them, I've gotten a lot of questions and about why we weren't doing that and what the state is doing now. So the local numbers, while they get reported to public safety as well as to our public nurse, and Bree manages follow-ups, that is a number that's in a very clear silo. So what a case is confirmed and contact really is just that number, and we lose the context when we just get that number. We're losing the context of what else is going in town around COVID-19, and like numbers of tests that have come back negative, numbers of tests that have come back positive and then negative, who's hospitalized, how these numbers of cases are being qualified as Easthampton residents when the infection and where they are might be somewhere else in the valley. The state has put together a very full dashboard that breaks down every Wednesday by each municipality in the Commonwealth, as well as county numbers, all of the context I just I mentioned, plus breakdown by ethnicity and age, it's like a 32-page report, and then there's a larger dashboard that's updated every day with county and statewide figures, number of hospital beds used, and where we are. So it's very helpful. It's on mass.gov. When you get to that website, right at the very top, it'll say the date and the time it was updated, and a click here, and you click there, and you just see all the categories of the information. It's really quite impressive. Also on there, on that site, you'll see a lot of relief programs for food, for housing, for rent, for mortgage. The federal government on SBA.gov, as well as CDC, any .gov on the federal level website, the Treasury.gov, you will see what the CARE Act is starting to be rolled out, and that includes payroll protection and economic disaster industry loans and grants. So you can get there from the state government, but I would also check out treasury.gov. The last site that's just put up money for small businesses is the Attorney General's site, and it's right on the landing page. The payroll protection system, a payroll protection plan has been refunded. I'm not exactly sure when that money goes back into that program, but it should be on the president's desk today or tomorrow, we are told, as well as the economic disaster grants and loans are also refunded, with some more money for medical care and hospitals to really start to boost up our testing ability. Along that, there will also be additional money coming for food budgets for folks through EBT, on top of whatever benefits that you might receive now. And also, I would encourage everybody listening and beyond to look at those food benefits, whether it is the WIC program, whether it is SNAP, and get into the system. The qualifications for SNAP, as well as unemployment and federal unemployment under the pandemic unemployment program, are now all open, and those qualifications have come really down to make sure that I think it's right now 1 in 6 throughout our country are now unemployed. We're at 26 million people who are now unemployed. And I encourage everyone to reach out and take a look at SNAP, WIC programs for food, as well as unemployment on the state and the federal level. The next order, and Bree touched upon it, and I've gotten a lot of questions, construction. So we have public programs such as the school, the MassWorks project at 1 Ferry Street, and we will soon have one starting on Route 10 in front of the River Valley Co-op construction site that used to be Fedor Automobile. All of these projects are starting to resume. We started reviewing the process last week, or actually this week, and there's a very detailed safety plan on top of what we had in place that Bree and the Board of Health, as well as our building inspection department, are reviewing to make sure that everybody is safe on those public construction sites. And then if it's private construction, whether that is putting windows into your house or building a house or building the actual co-op building, there are additional requirements. Please look at the building inspector's site. There'll be permits that are now backlogged that he'll start to go through and reissue. There is an agreement private construction contractors and do-it-yourselfers must sign to ensure safety, and we'll start accepting permits for new projects that are being proposed and starting to go through our process, as well as the planning department's gearing up. Bree, how did that sound as an overview?
That was good.
Okay, great.
Yeah. The public funded construction sites are sending their safety plans in, and health and safety plans that we're reviewing them. And then, like you said, private will have to sign that agreement. That should be on the building inspector's website soon. So, which is guidance taken straight from mass.gov.
Great. And then the last thing I have, and let's get to questions. So I've been trying to put out a daily report with the top resources that I feel will most affect Easthampton residents and businesses and be helpful. It's been very hard to keep up with all the information, and starting to apply for grants and reimbursements for city services, but also relief for our small businesses, our renters, and our mortgage payers. And I don't think I've done my daily report for like 3 days, but there's a ton of info. And thanks to Zoe in my office, working with our city council president, Peg Conniff, they will be helping me so we can get that information in one document, no more than 3 pages, to debunk myths out there, but also projects and programs and information that's most pertinent to Easthampton. And with that, those are my updates. Oh, you're muted.
I muted myself. There were a couple of questions. One of them relating to the construction permitting. What about solar?
So there have been some solar projects. So if a project was fully permitted and ready to go, and was solar, they can just go forward. And a couple of the projects have been, and a part of that is it's connected to the power grid. And we want as much solar or additional capacity on our energy grid as possible. So that's been kind of going on. And on residential properties, if they were already permitted, that work was permissible. Anybody who has a permit pending for solar on a residential project, it will go through the process, and we'll work to get that approved. Certainly we want as much solar as we can get.
Okay. The other question we had was, is there a mask mandate in town, or is it just encouraged?
So right now it's very strongly encouraged, and we're really urging residents to do that. We had some concerns about mandating, and the mayor and my board of health and I spent a lot of time talking about that. And Mayor, if you want to get into that or explain it further.
So the language is that Bree and the Board of Health put together is extremely strong. And if you compare it to other municipalities, it's very similar to those municipalities that have a mandate. When we looked at the feasibility and really community relations of enforcing or having our public safety officers enforce and fine through the health department, I had concerns about that. There are real issues out there with folks who have conditions that it's very anxiety producing to have your mouth and face covered, and we're working with them to help them get it through if they work in an essential business or just have concerns about contagion and just are a resident in the larger community. Also, those who who are on different parts of the continuum of hearing and need to see lips to talk, and how do they function, and if they were outside and they were safe and they didn't have a mask on, or somebody else had to remove the mask to communicate. We really don't want to go into that gray area. That said, the language is very strong, and I think the evidence more and more is very clear that a mask, you're really protecting others, and we all have to do our part. I would hope, given the grave level of infection around us, and again, I'll go back to that local number. I think our last look at the local number of cases yesterday was 37. Is that right, Bree? Yeah. So, I mean, I am so fearful that someone's going to look at that number of 37 and say, hey, that's not so bad. But when you look at the rate of infection per 100,000, we are no different than many other communities that are bigger or smaller. This disease it cannot be counted by people who have been tested. I know in my heart's and heart, based on science, we have more than 37 cases, active cases in Easthampton. And to think or make a decision about wearing a mask or not wearing a mask with that false number in your head, it's irresponsible. It's irresponsible for yourself, for your loved ones, and anybody you come into contact. And I would ask people to do their part. And I thank the people in the public when they see somebody without a mask in close quarters, when they ask them or remind them very politely of the risk that they're putting people at. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, the other thing is, people that are going out for essential items like prescriptions and food, it's an issue if it's a social equity issue for someone to turn them away because they don't have a mask. So that was also a concern. And because masks aren't necessarily, there's not tons of them out there right now. So if we were going to mandate it, then the businesses would have to provide them, and there's not, bountiful amount of them for the businesses to provide. So we're really just, like the mayor said, everyone should do their part. And if they can wear a mask, they should be wearing a mask. And about the numbers that you see are all the confirmed cases, and every confirmed case, almost we can guarantee has several contacts, and those contacts are not in those numbers. So, and a lot of those contacts live in Easthampton because it's husbands and wives and it's children and it's coworkers. So you might see 37, but you also have to understand that they have several contacts as well that are considered, they don't necessarily test them, but they're assumed to have COVID. So.
And on the news, we're seeing, these cases of and examples of folks who aren't showing any symptoms at all, but are testing positive. So they're shedding the virus in ways we might not understand, or the virus isn't showing itself within a particular person, yet there is additional infection. That really goes to a longer, hopefully more immediate system that we really need throughout the country, and that's one, more testing regardless of who you are, where you work, and how you might be perceived as higher risk, as well as in-depth contact tracing, and that is tracing from one person who they have spoken to. In the news, it's pretty amazing that Germany has narrowed down their first case with 2 women, and one asked the other to pass the salt, and that's where it came down to. But along the lines of contact tracing, if you go to mass.gov, you can apply to be a contact tracer and make some calls to folks and say, hey, did you go to work this day? Or, what did you do? And you start creating this amazing web of infection or not infection. So, the more information like that we get, the sooner we start easing societal restrictions.
I don't see any other questions. Does anyone want to unmute themselves and ask questions? Or make a comment? Okay.
I have just then, I'll take the opportunity to give one plug and one clarification. So a lot of questions about taxes, excise tax, property tax, parking fees, water and sewer. So late fees that you might accumulate because you are unable to pay the bill because you are prioritizing your dollars, are not going to be assessed. And that starts on March 13th, when the declaration of emergency started. and with the restrictions now, we're reviewing that every week. What we are not doing is we are not waiving taxes. So there is no late fee, but the tax bill is still there and needs to be paid. It also means that going further down the chain of say, a warrant or whatnot around that, or hold at the RMV, that process continues, but we are not assessing late fees. One other part of that that has been made clear is the governor signed a moratorium on evictions for both and foreclosures. So if you're in a tight spot like that, no, on a local level, no late fees. And also there is a ban from foreclosures and evictions during the state of emergency. And contact your lenders, contact the government, like contact the AG's office to talk about any issues you're having with your lenders. The second thing I just want to put out there is we still have a special election on May 19th. It is not an election that we can postpone again. We are really encouraging people to go to our website, and right on the landing page, you can click and it'll say apply to early vote. And we will send you a ballot just as if it's an absentee ballot. You know, so we're encouraging people as much as possible to vote by mail. Polling locations will be open on May 19th. We are having difficulty, as you can imagine, getting poll workers. But the polls will be open, but please consider getting an early vote ballot. I'm going to do it today.
Great. We had a question, I think it was addressed in the last town hall, but how much do the mayor and superintendent talk to figure out plans for the future of our schools?
A lot.
Yeah.
Because we have a plan and we think what's going to happen, and then school's canceled for the rest of the year. So I'll say that having a superintendent who has been in schools as principal and a teacher is a fantastic resource, because she truly knows the need for planning on multiple options, A, B, C, D, and E. And we're talking back and forth. And remember, we're talking one-on-one. We're talking in the school committee meetings, which we have a school committee meeting this coming Tuesday. Also talking around the school building project. So there's a lot of back and forth and machinations around, traffic and what the fall could look like, what the remote learning looks like, what can we do for our students over the summer. But give a lot of credit to Superintendent LeClaire and her leadership team for really thinking it through, and really giving the rest of the city and being prepared to work with me for whatever is best for all of Easthampton.
Any other questions? I don't see any in the chat.
I do have one question. I'm wondering if it's at all possible somehow to just get a permit to get rid of my yard clippings.
So the brush, again, on the website, it tells you when the brush and debris yard is open down on Highway off of Northampton Street, right before the West Street Bridge, and you can go there. If you have a sticker or not, and you're an Easthampton resident, you can go and dump your lawn clippings there.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? This is your time. What's the difference between that dump and Oliver Street?
You know what? I don't know. I have no idea. I compost all of my stuff. What a great question, Michelle. I'll get back to you, unless Bree or someone else knows. But yeah.
On the website, it says a drop-off area for residential yard waste, brush, grass, leaves, is available at the end of Oliver Street. A permit sticker card is required for services.
Yeah, so go there with your license. It's been difficult to figure out we don't have the ability right now to pay for those stickers online and then get you a sticker. So you can also go to the highway yard on, I think it's Saturday, and drop the same stuff out there. So there are 2 locations and they do the same thing.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? People are saying every Saturday in April and May, Oliver Street, a permit is not required right now, according to Barbara. I'm assuming Barbara Lombard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hang on, I'll unmute so I can explain it. Yeah, somebody asked on Facebook last week, and Barbara said that a permit's not required right now, and that it's open every Saturday in April and May.
Thank you, Elaine.
You're welcome. Well, thank Barbara. She's been right on top of everything on Facebook. So
she has.
Yeah.
She has.
All right. Fire away if you'd like to speak.
I've said it on there and I'll say it again. I want to thank you guys for everything you've been doing. It's been a big help and very informative doing these meetings every week. So.
Great. Good to hear. And if anyone has ideas about who else they would like on the town hall, or if there's a particular topic that might be more detailed, certainly happy to get prepared to get that granular data out via this town hall. The other thing that we'll be doing as we get closer to budget time. So right now we're on a course for me to present my budget to the city council on May 6th. And at that May 6th budget, it will go to the full council and then to finance committee, and we'll set up individual meetings. Those of course will all be filmed, but I will be doing a budget presentation on this. And I would also, I'm trying to figure out the schedule to get department heads on so we can talk about it here. I need to work around a couple of open meeting laws, but we'll do it. It's possible.
Great. We had a suggestion for guests for other town halls, city councilors.
Yeah.
And
that's a great idea.
We actually have one on our.
We have one here now, yeah.
What? Who's here?
Peg. Here.
Oh, Peg's everywhere. Peg's everywhere.
I'm not video,
oh, go ahead. I can't hear Peg.
No, I was just, can you hear me?
Yes.
Now I can.
Oh, I was just saying, hello. I'm not going on my video though, because no one wants to see that. And I would be happy to attend as a invited speaker to talk to any topics that may come up.
It sounds like next Thursday, our special guest will be City Council President, Peg Conniff.
I happen to be free. I have not.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I am very fortunate, and I think the city should understand how fortunate they are that Madam President timed her retirement for this pandemic and has been very involved and very helpful to everyone in the city government and backing us up and helping us through Zoom. So thank you for retiring, and my apologies to your wife, Deb, for having to deal that. But yeah.
Happy to take one for the team.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
Easthampton Media would like to thank Peg Conniff. She's also a board member, and she's been doing a lot of work.
Wow.
She's been doing a lot of work helping us get the Zoom meetings up and running for the government. So thank you, Peg, for your service in both the city and at Easthampton Media.
Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's going to help my ego for about an hour and a half. So thanks.
Well, there you go.
Is there anyone else that would like to make questions or comments before we adjourn? I had one in the chat that we missed. How often is the Northampton Street dump open? We established that Oliver Street was every Saturday.
I believe it's the same hours as Oliver Street, and it's the same days. As I remember that from a report when I talked to the highway department. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? If there are none, then I guess if everybody's okay with adjourning, we can adjourn.
Great.
Just
Thank
an
you,
anecdotal,
everyone.
just one anecdotal thing.
Uh-oh.
I forgot it was Thursday, so I forgot the meeting was today. I'm sure a lot of people have the same problem.
Actually, that's a really, that reminds me. So we have obviously been having these Thursday at noontime.
Yeah.
And we're going to probably make them a little earlier, like at 10 or 11, because there's no. Okay. Okay. I hear the public speaking. All right. So we'll put that on pause, Elaine.
Graham's 99. She doesn't do well in the morning, so I have to get her ready before you have this meeting, and 10's too early.
Okay. Well heard. Okay.
Yeah, and they are being recorded, and they'll be available on YouTube for people to watch if they weren't able to attend. But it is nice to have people here to be able to interact and ask questions.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, I'm so scattered. Jen, when we put out that you can actually join and participate on Zoom for this, where is the actual Zoom link? Because I guess I haven't been clear with how you click on Zoom. Is that on Easthampton Media's website, or how does that work?
Yeah, we've been emailing them to your office. So it was Zoe that had the link.
Okay.
And then we've also been putting it in the Facebook event. And we're working on trying to put it up on our website as well. But maybe the city would like to put it on your website, or maybe you can do it.
I was just going to,
Yeah, so I mean,
okay.
This Zoom meeting is going to be the same login and password for every week, so it won't change.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. If there are no other questions, then thank you all for attending. It's been really great getting together every week and hearing about the things happening in the city during this time. Feel free to, join us next week. Topic to be determined. And I want to.
No, it's going to be counselor. Oh no, we have a topic. It's going to be all about city council, and our city council president is going to update us on the legislative branch of our government. Correct, Madam President? If you're still there. I know where she lives.
Okay.
I know virtually. I'll get her.
So thank you again, Mayor, for joining everybody. And
oh, thank you.
And we'll see you next week.
Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you.